Okay, thank you, Natasha. When I talk about millets, we are referring to over 12 different species of plants that belong to the grass family. And among these, archaeological evidence suggests that these originated somewhere in Africa, but they have spread across continents, and they are very important now in Africa and Asia. Going by their origins, they have got a lot of cultural importance in the areas that they are cultivated. And what is marvelous about these millets is that they are the earliest domesticated, among the earliest domesticated crops in humanity, but yet to date, they are least cultivated. These the millets have got a wide range of advantages. They have got a wide environmental adaptability. They are resilient in adverse environmental in terms of climatic, biotic, and edaphic stresses. They are nutritious, more so in terms of minerals. Calcium, for example, is one very important element that is found in millets. Have fiber, they are gluten-free, they contain antioxidants and essential amino acids. Generally, because of their small size, they have got very good storability, they have got high traditional and commercial value, and therefore they have potential even in commercialization today. And I think the reasons why the FAO and the United Nations thought that they declare this year the year of millets is because they have come to realize the value that these crops hold, and yet they have been neglected. They have potential for investment, and they are therefore, because of the lack of attention that they have received, they are at risk of getting extinct. And therefore, it is important that the FAO and the UN decided to focus on these crops. We hope that it will bring attention, worldwide attention for intervention. Briefly, that is about the millets.
Thank you. So, but why is it being neglected? Maybe let's start there. Like, what if it was an essential part of our diets from long ago? What happened?
I think what happened is that in the first place, it is cultivated in areas of low economic capacity, and therefore there is limited knowledge on the value of the crops. There has been limited investment in research and development, and we have not even collected all the germplasm that is there. The climate change effects are aggravating the situation against millet, and therefore we need to intervene. I think the intervention probably will start coming in force after this 2023 year of the millets, but we need to get back and do something about it.
Great. And as this year of the millet, this 2023, maybe I'll ask Chef Wisdom Abiro, have you seen, like in your cooking, I think you did also another video I saw before on like promoting millets. How is this year, has this year had any effect on how we handle millets? In your opinion, by giving it this 2023 the year for it?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd like to say a very big thank you to the GLF for this opportunity to be on set with you and to talk about millets. I am very passionate about things that come from my region, and millets as a grain that is being highlighted by the FAO this year. And so talking on this is very, very important to me, and thank you again for the opportunity. And so millets, like said by Dr. Asian grains that has been in my culture and in other parts of the world for a very long time. And I mean, the introduction of the Year of Millets by the FAO has greatly contributed to the awareness of people about the grain. So people are asking questions about it. People want to know about it. People seem to have seen it some time ago, but they didn't know what they actually are. And so declaring this year as the Year of Millet has helped tremendously to introduce the grain to a lot of people. And so I am happy about the initiative, and I can see the progress it has gained this year.
Great, thank you. So Dr. Oduori, I mean, you've been studying millets for 34 years. Like you're, I guess,
Yes.
you might be the millet expert of the world right now. In your experiences, what has been the big challenges you've faced here when in terms of your research and your management of millets?
I think the challenges have been mostly due to limited resources in the areas that they are cultivated, in that there is very little invested in the research and the development of the value chains of millets, and thereby implication, even by extension, the personnel, qualified personnel allocated to the improvement of the millets is not there. And therefore, you find that the value chains are not growing. People are still using millets the same way they used to use them long time ago. That is not helpful to the millets, considering the world in which we live today. So we need technological investments, research and development investments to get the millets up to standard, up to the pace of the exotic crops that came on board and helped kick them out of focus.
Mhm. Great. And so how do we, like, as I know, recently we've had superfoods, like, like the chia seeds and quinoa and different grains that were also kind of disappearing, which are now very appealing. How can we make millets kind of join this bandwagon of, interesting, appealing foods? Maybe Abiro, you can join in there.
Yeah, so just like with initiatives like this that was introduced by the FAO, we need to start up by creating more demand for it. The more we keep having conversations like this, and I'm really excited that GLF has taken this upon them to put this out. These are some of the things that we do that would help create more awareness. We need to keep talking about it, talking about the health benefits, talking about the creative and amazing ways that it could be incorporated in our diets, and that would draw a lot of awareness. Because one thing I realize is that demand is something that directs the movement of things in this world. So because all of a sudden there's demand for quinoa, quinoa is eaten everywhere. Because there's demand for barley, barley is eaten everywhere. And so when we start to drive the demand for millets, types of millets, like fonio, all the other types of millets, that's where it starts from. It starts from we getting the demand. And how do we get the demand? We create the demand by having constant conversations, putting up agendas, bringing up like challenges, like millet challenge, things like that, to like incite people to keep talking about it. Once people start talking about it, the demand will be created. And I think it will go a long way to bring the minds of investors and researchers to it, because it's like where everyone's focus is, that is where the resources go. Yeah.
Great. And I know you, I mean, on that note, you created a really cool video for us, like for recipes, to show us how to use millets in different ways. And I think like now would be a great time to maybe just maybe introduce the video a bit for us and tell us about it, and then we'll cue it up.
All right. So in the short video, I wanted to show the two ways in which I use millet. And from where I come from, northern Ghana, we have the pearl millet and sorghum, but pearl millet is more popular and very, very indigenous, and you can find it everywhere and in my region. And so in the video, I'm showing two ways of using the pearl millet. One is to make a local indigenous drink called zonkom, or the millet drink. And then two, making an indigenous quick meal or fast food called concorre. But because of pronunciations, I have renamed it and call it the millet KK. And so the millet KK is like in back in the days, it was considered the fast food because it can be made in less than 5 to 10 minutes. And it's just all you just need is your pearl millet, but usually it is parboiled, so that makes it easy to cook because it's already half cooked. So you just need to cook it a little bit and it's done. And all you need is like your pearl millet, your vegetable stock or any kind of stock you have, your seasoning, and that's it. So it comes in the form of a risotto. So this is more of like
Oh,
a millet
nice.
risotto. Yeah. So that's like the simplest way I'm able to introduce it to people, because it goes, the preparation is just like a risotto. And the amazing thing is that to get it more indigenous, you need to cook it with the shea butter. And that also helps me to introduce a lot of these things that come from my indigenous community to people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you. So I think on
Thank
that
you.
note, we'll ask to cue the video and let's see Chef Wisdom Abiro's interesting ways of using millets.
My name is Chef Abiro, and these are the 2 ways I use millet. I'm going to be making a millet drink called zonko, and these are the ingredients: our cloves, our grains of Salem, our grains of paradise, our dried spicy pepper, local black pepper, coconut shavings, some honey for sweetness, shea butter for flavor, and pearl millet, the ultimate millet we'll be using for this recipe. To make this recipe, it is quite simple. All you need to do is put in your millet, add in your coconut shavings, add in your cloves, your grains of Salem, the grains of paradise, your dry pepper, your dry black pepper, your honey for sweetness, your shea butter, and your generous amount of water to blend it all up together. We are done with our millet drink zonko. Try this recipe at home anytime and join the Year of Millet challenge. Two, the second way I use my millet is to make something from my indigenous community called conserve, but I call it the millet KK. So to make the millet KK, all you need is your pearl millet, parboiled and crushed. So once you're done parboiling it, you spread it out for it to dry, and then you crush it a little bit. Then you need your vegetable stock, and then you need your chopped garlic, chopped onions, you need your shea butter, you need your powdered cayenne pepper, and salt to taste, and you're good to go. So you need to cook this for a maximum of less than 5 minutes. Then your Yes, and so this is our millet KK. In my indigenous hometown, this is called conserve, and I call it millet KK. So our millet KK is ready. Remember, this is made under 5 to 10 minutes, easy and quick. Make sure you always have the part that has the shea butter, because shea butter makes everything better.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Can I tell
Thank
you, I
you.
didn't know you could cook with shea butter until just now. I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
it's basically what we use in cooking in the northern part of Ghana. So we
Amazing.
cook with shea butter, we cook with our peanut butter oil, and
Yeah.
any kind of vegetable oil. But these two are very indigenous to my people.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. You can smell it from there. Like, I think what two things that I caught from the video, which I thought were really interesting, is the one is that I think even for young people, because this is the issue
Yeah.
today, is that we don't have time to cook. So if you
Yeah.
have something that's nutritious and easy to cook, then it should be more appealing to the younger generation, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then also the story about our indigenous culture, bringing back the
Yeah.
stories from our tradition. So like, I think I'll go to Dr. Oduori after in terms of asking about Kenya. What's our history with millets? And see yours with Northern Ghana. You're bringing in the stories from long ago and, bringing them today because it's important. So for me, those are the two things that I took from your great recipes. So what do you think about that in terms of, with young people, with millets and our youth? I think that's a very good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in,
Right. Yeah, and so one thing is that for a very long time, the use of millet has been limited to what is common in our society. And so there are basically maybe just two ways millets are used all around, especially from the southern part of Ghana throughout to other parts of West Africa, like Nigeria. It's in making a porridge called Hausa cocoa. And so this porridge that is made from the pearl millets that originates from Nigeria down into Ghana. And so the southern part of Ghana only know that to be the use of millets. But when you come to the northern part of Ghana, where it is part of our culture, there are so many varieties of ways. We have indigenous pancake recipes. We have like the millet cake recipe. We have the zonkom recipe, and so many others. We have a swallow that we make that is called TZ, that is known also in Nigeria as tuwo zafi, but ours is made from millets, but theirs is made from corn or maize. And so there are so many ways millets have been used. But one thing I've realized is that it has still been used in the old way, no new techniques. And for us in the northern part of Ghana, we usually eat for strength and eat for nutrition because you're always in a hurry to get back to your farm. And because I mean, in the northern part of Ghana, we have like just 3 months of rainfall, and so you always want to seize the opportunity to be at the farm to make the most out of the season. And so there is no time to make the meal beautiful. You only consume it for strength and for vitality. And we are now in an era where people want to eat with their eyes. People want to eat something that looks beautiful. They want to see how beautiful it is on the plate before they even think about tasting it. And so that is what we are doing with the NGO that I work with, the Ghana Food Movement, looking at creative ways of reintroducing neglected or underutilized species like millets in modern ways and attractive ways to make it more appealing to the younger generation, because millets are superfoods. They are amazing. They have antioxidants, anti-aging. They help reduce your cholesterol, your blood sugar, so many amazing things. And so we need to find creative ways of making it appealing to the young people. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. That's and I agree. And I think also, Dr. Oduori, you were showing us earlier how available is this in stores? Like if people wanted to buy millets and we want to make, it's the International Year of the Millet, how easy is it to find it in shops, so easy to buy it? And then I also know you've created 9 different varieties of millet. Yes, Doctor? So
Yes,
please tell us. Yes, so tell us about the
this is how
availability and
it would
about
look
all the
like.
varieties you've created.
Yeah, first of all, before we get there, I think the story of millets in Kenya is almost the same as what Abiro has indicated in Nigeria. Only that here in Kenya, the important millets are finger millet and then pearl millet. Pearl millet to a lesser extent in the drier eastern parts of the country, but finger millet in the west of the Rift Valley parts of Kenya, spreading into Uganda. And the uses were also limited initially because they were used in 3 different ways. First as ugali, as you know, that cake, the ugali, and then uji. That is the most common way that we consume finger millet or the millets. And then also the traditional brew, the beer made from finger millet. And coincidentally, literature tells us that finger millet is only second to barley in terms of malting quality. So it has got a lot of potential in the brewing industry. So now, after the reawakening of interest in the millets in Kenya, we are making quite some strides. We are starting from the production right up to the consumption. We are covering the whole value chain. We have adopted what we call the agricultural product value chain approach to research. And we are looking at each node to make sure that we remove all the constraints in there so that the value chains can grow and have more people eat the nutritious millets. And one of the products of that effort is now taken up by a startup company called Simply Foods. And these guys are processing this and getting them into the markets. And they even they are getting orders to supply some of these to projects like the school feeding programs and all that. So, and when you do that, like Abiro just indicated, once you increase the demand, then it means that now the demand will have the full effect and therefore bring everything up, expand the value chain, expand the production, and even the consumption will expand. And this will assure the citizenry of good health. As you know, finger millet is a very nutritious cereal. So we have made quite some strides. Now we have expanded the utilization options, the food products, from just the 3. Now we have got over 10 products that we can talk of, of the chapatis, of the crackers, onion bites, and all that can be made from finger millet. So the future looks very bright for finger millet. And like you have indicated, rightfully indicated, my contribution has been on the production side of the story, where I picked from a point of where people had lost interest in the crop. They were only seeing problems. But with the development of improved, better yielding varieties and accompanying management practices to make sure that they can be easily produced, the interest is growing. And we are grateful to support from agencies like the Crop Trusts, who have given us resources and enabled us to collect wild relatives from where we can get desirable genes to incorporate into the land races and commercial varieties, make better yielding varieties with the desired properties.
Great. So
Thank
I guess,
you.
we're going to be ending soon. So I'll just stay with you, Dr. Oduori, because you've been in the,
Yes.
for 34 years, you've researched this millet. And finally, 2023 has declared this year of the millet. So just to ask you, in terms of Pan-African, like how are we sharing our millet stories? Or is there like a continent-wide like awareness campaign sort of going on where we're sharing all the knowledge that we have on the continent? And then I guess my second one would be is in India, like I read that millet is also helping a lot of women farmers advance and supporting them more than usual, than other grains. So do you just want to comment on that? And then I'll come with Chef Wisdom after.
Yes, in terms of sharing information across the continent, once we got stakeholders on board, we have had various organizations coming together, like CGs now have got interest. The Consultative Group on International Agricultural Research have adopted the crop, and now we are even creating networks across the continent to address, where professionals are coming together and addressing the issues of finger millet. The most recent was last week. We were in Dar es Salaam with people from East and Southern Africa, just discussing millets and what we can do about the millets. That's already a very positive story and a very positive development. In terms of the social setup, the crop values and all that, finger millets and generally millets have been considered a women crop. And I think previously it was because of the labor intensity involved in the production. So women, they knew they acknowledged that the crop is very important and they are nutritious to their families because they needed to feed the nutritious foods to their children. So they invested more time in the cultivation and the processing of finger millet, and then making food for the families and the surplus selling off to supplement their diets. So it has for a very long time been considered a women crop. And when we build its value in the community, we are also building, empowering women in terms of getting more in terms of food and money in their pockets. So it is it's getting on board what we call gender equity. It's contributing towards that in our society.
That's a great story. I think I mean I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has also learned a lot. And I think with Chef Wisdom, I think for you, if I would ask you, it's the story about our indigenous cultures, because I feel like on this whole climate crisis, I think we need to go back to the wisdom of our elders and our traditions. Even though we're moving forward, they had wisdom back then. There was reasons for things. And I think, like even connecting, let's say like a chef with a scientist together, bringing these two different worlds, which are not so different. These are also ways of, enhancing this conversation and, bringing it back. So maybe with Chef, I guess my last question to you as we wrap up would be like, just to maybe share with us the indigenous story, the story from your community and in your cooking, and especially here with millets. Your closing thoughts. And then
Yeah, so from the stories I learned from my mom and my grandmother, there were times where, from where I come from, it's always, like I said, we literally experienced like 3 months of rainfall, but there was a time where in the whole year there was no rainfall. And that's one thing about millets. They are climate resilient crops. And you see, these are the grains that still stood the test of time, even when there was no rainfall. These crops were there. And from where I come from, we have the cattle herders and the nomadic people that rear the cattle, the goats, and the sheep. And so that is always considered like a male kind of activity to do. And then the crop production, like the grains, are handled by the women. Same as in Kenya and as in Ghana as well. And so usually when the men go to the fields with the animals, the children are left behind with the women. And you see, and typically in the African setting, it's just breakfast and dinner that are the main meals for the day. Lunch is not really something that is considered because during the afternoon times, it is considered that there is no one at home. But that's when the use of millet comes in. It is quick, it is easy to make. And so these were the go-to meals that our grandmothers and our mothers used to make for the family. It's like when you come back from the farm, you're so tired. And I mean, from the whole day of stress, you want to rest a little bit and then think about what you want to eat in the evening. But before you relax, you are looking for something quick, something easy to make that could sustain you for that couple of hours. And millet was that go-to grains that really helped. And I mean, there were times where there were conflicts among smaller tribes. People wanted to take territories. The millet grains used to be like means of exchange. These were like peace settling grains. These are grains that literally brought peace between two communities because the fight and the conflict started because of hunger. And there were times where they decided that instead of fighting among themselves, they could just share the grains among themselves and then help share the food. And so these grains do not just come to us as food, but they have a lot of history. They've done so much for us that we could even imagine. And so we celebrating millets this year, it's a big thing. And it is my hope and prayer that it doesn't just end with this year, but we keep continuing the conversation, we keep stirring up the demand, because in times where we realize that climate change is a big factor, these are some of the grains we should be talking about, and in the case of the Russian and Ukraine war, where it was so difficult to import wheat and things like that, these are things that we could have still looked up to because we could bake with the millet flour, and we are also looking at a possibility where the millet varieties that we have in Kenya can come to Ghana, and the ones in Ghana can go to Kenya, can go around the African continent to make sure that these grains still stay and do not go extinct. So I hope we still continue this conversation and create ways where we could share the seeds and share this generational knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. And I think what you've also pointed out is that even what happened in our past, in our history, is basically what we're facing right now. I mean, there's hunger, rainfall, we have very little rainfall. So whatever we're experiencing is something that our forefathers experienced then and found a way to survive. And so, we should be taking these lessons from them, to ensure our future.
Yeah.
Really, I've learned so much. I mean, who'd think that, talking about millets for half an hour would be like, an interesting conversation, but I've learned so much
Yeah.
today on, how to cook them, the history of them. And I guess we actually have a comment from our audience from Twitter, someone saying that they grew up in southern part of Zimbabwe and we grew these small grains. I have the opinion that there should be some mechanization to promote farming techniques. I don't know, Dr. Oduori, do you want to comment on that? This from our
Yeah, we are
audience.
actually looking at that. Like I said, we are looking at the whole value chain, and that is involves production right from the farm, trying to get machines that are easy to get, cheap to get, and therefore facilitating the whole process and looking at it all through to processing, diversifying the utilization and all that. So I think we are addressing that one.
Great. So it looks like we've gone a bit over time, which is fantastic. But really, it's been a pleasure and really an education for me to learn about millets. I'm definitely going to go try to cook something with millets after this conversation. And I do hope, as you said, this just because it's the year of the millet, that it's the year and it continues to be all the years of the millet where we bring it back in our diet. So I'd like to thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping the conversation going and growing. And yes, we hope there's a good future for our millets.
Yes.
And we recommend millets in your diet, Natasha.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go and try, and I'll let you know. And I hope that you can also connect and collaborate with science and cooking, and we can make millets more cool for everyone.
Yeah. I'm
Sure,
looking forward looking forward to visiting Kenya and learning more about the other types of millets and see how best I could
yes.
In Ghana here I've tried to make meals that incorporate both the pearl millet and the sorghum, and so I'll be looking forward to creating amazing dishes where I could maybe combine all the 12 varieties
All
on
the
a plate.
12 millets, yes.
I mean,
Millet
give
varieties,
people, I mean, give people a dining experience of the 12 varieties of millets. Maybe I would name it the 12 wonders of millet, maybe.
Why not? We're gonna have a series of our 12
good.
wonders of millet.
Yeah.
How it goes. But thank you all. I think that's it for our session. And hopefully we'll come back again and see where we've progressed in our millet story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.